Hello, listeners. This is Kat, and welcome back to Put Your Hands Up Podfics. This will be the continuation of Little Acts of Kindness. This will be part 104, chapter 104, entitled Not Home Alone. Izuku looked around as the last of his classmates were pulled out of the virtual reality. Some looked rather unnerved still. Some seemed smug, and others seemed frustrated, particularly Shinso. Gah, I almost had that stupid golden rabbit thing. Stupid hallucination breaking my audio. She huffed. You got Springtrap as well? Hagakure asked. Yeah, how did you do? She asked. All right. I got till 5 a.m., but then ran out of oxygen and suffocated to death, Hagakure replied. I will never look at a plushie the same way again, Koda said quietly, and Izuku nodded in agreement. Did you pass? He asked his classmate. Koda shook his head. I gave up, he signed, looking away. That's all right. It was really scary. I just managed to scrape a pass, Izuku said. But I don't know if I'm going to be sleeping soundly in my bedroom tonight, he admitted. Man, you got the bedroom game as well? Kirishima asked. I am already nervous of my closet. Now I'm going to need to actually block it off, he said, laughing. Izuku gave a small smile at that. Congratulations to all of you. One last note before you're all allowed to head home until Tuesday. Please don't mention anything that happened with those outside of your classroom, as we still have another group of students to go through Monday. If you have any suggestions, comments, or other feedback for us, please feel free to come tell us or write it down and submit it to your homeroom teacher. Based on the feedback provided and the results, it will determine if Gym Epsilon will continue into a proper training facility, or if the idea is scrapped and we use the resources to develop something else, the principal said. And with that, they were dismissed. Izuku took the train home. Upon arriving, he flopped on the couch. Kaida came out, nuzzling him, sending feelings of reassurance. The afternoon passed, and he opened the fridge to grab some leftovers. Maboroshi had come by yesterday with some dishes, saying he had cooked too much and couldn't eat it all. Given the man had been carrying a large stack and had kept going to the next level up, Izuku believed him. So he opened up the container and heated up the leftovers. He started eating the meal, and then after doing some light stretches, he took a shower and went to bed. He fell asleep staring nervously at his closet door, wary of Foxy jumping out, even if logically he knew that stupid red pirate fox plush didn't exist. He did manage to fall asleep, only to wake up hearing a weird rattling and banging sound. Sleepy and dazed with sleep, he grabbed the flashlight and checked the time, seeing it was 4 a.m. He went to the door, listening for breathing, before opening the door, using the battery-powered flashlight Yagirozu had given him to shine a light down the hall. The light beamed out to the kitchen where he saw his mom in the kitchen, and Izuku managed to take a shuddery breath. It was just his mom. It was just his mom. Izuku let out a shaky laugh, heading toward the kitchen. You need to head back to bed, Mom, he said, and led her back to her bedroom, putting her back to sleep. After that scare, he didn't manage to go back to sleep, at least not until the clock changed to 6 a.m., and then he passed out, exhausted. He woke up to a knock on the door. He threw on some clothes and went to open the door, recognizing the knocks. Grandfather, he said, giving a slight smile to the older man. Hello, Izuku, the man said, reaching over and ruffling his hair, giving Izuku enough time to move away. How are you? His grandfather asked. I'm all right, he answered. A white eyebrow raised up. You seem a bit tired, the CEO pointed out. Izuku flushed a bit. I had trouble sleeping last night. Was something bothering you? Or just one of those nights? Just one of those nights, Izuku answered a bit, shrugging. His grandfather gave a nod. I have things to do this afternoon, but had the morning off and I figured I would come visit you, if you don't mind spending time with an old man, he said, giving a friendly smile. Don't mind, Izuku answered. Is there anything you would like to do? His grandfather asked. Izuku thought about it for a moment before shaking his head, not really knowing how he would like to spend time with his grandfather. How about we go for a hike? The man suggested. And while I might not be as young as I used to be, we could play some catch. Izuku blinked at that, surprised by such a simple suggestion, but one that seemed so normal. He remembered Bakugo talking to his friends about spending a weekend with his dad, going biking, playing catch, going fishing. Such normal family activities that Izuku had never done, not having a dad, and his mom having not been interested in such activities. And then, of course, after her accident, unable to do these kinds of things. I'd like that, he said, voice choking a bit on some sort of emotion. He just finally had someone who wanted to spend time with him, to do these family activities that he always heard his classmates talking about, but never got to participate in. It was nice, yet it also left an almost bitter feeling that his mom hadn't been willing to do such a thing when he was younger, that his father, whoever they were, didn't care to be around. Not a single memory or picture gave him any clues to his father. His grandfather smiled, and the two found a ball to play catch with, and then left the apartment. The two used the man's car, heading towards a hiking trail. For an hour, the two walked, and they ended up talking about various topics. Finally, they arrived at a clearing with some picnic tables and barbecue pits. Ready to play some catch? Izuku gave a nod, and his grandfather threw the ball. Izuku moved to catch it, but misjudged the distance, and it fell to the ground. He ran after the ball, going to pick it up, and he tossed it back to his grandfather, who also failed to catch it. His grandfather grabbed the ball, and then tossed it back. Somehow, both of them were pretty terrible at catching the ball. Izuku didn't know why. It shouldn't be hard, given he did harder things at UA, but it was. Yet Izuku was enjoying it all the same. About a half an hour after his grandfather had called for a stop. How about we head back to your apartment? Maybe we can play chess for a little bit, until I have to go, the man offered. Izuku nodded. Sure, he agreed. The two went to Izuku's apartment, taking the walk back, which took an hour, with them discussing more about his Civil War experience during UA. His grandfather praised him for doing so well. After they finished the hike back, there was a 15-minute drive back home. Then he and his grandfather played chess for half an hour, where his grandfather spoke about some recent news, and then it was time for him to leave. See you soon, Izuku, the man said, giving a smile. See you, Izuku replied, watching his grandfather leave. Leaving him alone once more. And he shivered, feeling a bit colder now than a moment before, the warmth of this morning fading away. Izuku ate lunch and did some homework that he had been assigned. It was about 4 in the afternoon when a knock came from his door, and he went over, opening it after checking who was outside, and he saw his neighbor. Hello, Izuku greeted. Midoriya, I was wondering if I could cook you some dinner. I bought too many groceries, and I don't want them to expire, so I figured I could cook a meal for you, the purple-haired man said, holding up a bag of groceries. If not, that's fine. I can always see if any of the neighbors wouldn't mind if I cook for them, he said. I was planning on making some katsudon. I haven't had the dish in forever, but I was also craving some yakitori and some udon. Next thing I know, it's the weekend, and I still haven't made the katsudon. The man rambled on a bit. Izuku hadn't had his favorite dish in a while, and Maboroshi had been fairly helpful to him. And it was nice, the occasional walks they had in the morning, where the man would ramble, and Tenrei would happily walk alongside them, or try and demand pets. Plus, the man's cooking was surprisingly good, better than the foods Izuku could make. Sure, he agreed, letting the man in. Maboroshi beamed. Thank you so much, the man said, coming in after having received the permission. The afternoon passed with the purple-haired man cooking, and Izuku watching him as he did so. After a couple hours, the meal was made. Thank you for letting me cook something for you, he said, heading toward the door. Izuku blinked. You're not going to stay and eat? He asked. It was only polite, after all. The man had cooked such an amazing meal for him and his mom. The man could stay and enjoy it as well. I don't want to bother you by staying longer, the man said, giving a small smile. The words sounded so familiar to Izuku, used to saying such things, that he didn't want to bother people. And Izuku had to wonder to himself, would Maboroshi be a bother if he stayed over? Ate dinner with them. Sure, it was polite to let the man stay, but would Izuku be bothered by it? He thought about his interactions with the man, the way the man was all too happy to ramble on, how he seemed so excited and happy when Izuku actually listened, surprised when Izuku never asked him to be quiet, and the man had helped him a couple times, getting out of things that could have been a lot more complicated. Such as having Tenrei pinned down attackers, Izuku couldn't use his quirk without getting in trouble, and he was still struggling with hand-to-hand combat a bit, even if he had the strength from exercising and working out in order to be able to have One for All. He still didn't have the training or knowledge to break out of grabs when raw strength wouldn't do the trick. He was much better at the punching and kicking aspects of fighting. More specifically, punching. Maboroshi was kind, and was nice, friendly, excited, and happy to try and make others happy as well. During the few walks they had, there had been quite a few times when the purple-haired man would go over, helping people, from old ladies crossing the street, to bringing food for some stray kittens, to once when they had found a child crying and had helped him find his parents. Izuku had missed the early train because of that, but still, it was worth it to see the happiness. Maboroshi was a good man, and Izuku sometimes wondered why the man hadn't tried to be a hero. Or maybe he had, before whatever accident left him without his memories. I don't mind, Izuku stated, stopping the man before he exited. You cooked the food. I would like you to stay, to have dinner together, he said. Maboroshi smiled, looking happy. If you're sure. Izuku nodded. I am, he said, and went to go get his mom. He didn't trust Maboroshi, not fully, still not knowing the man, who, while certainly open about a lot of stuff, tended to hide what his job actually was, even if he didn't like working for his boss. But he didn't mind spending time with the man. And it made the coldness seem to go away a bit, to have someone else to talk with, and Izuku didn't want the coldness to return. He didn't want to feel lonely, and alone in his own home. All right, listeners, this concludes Chapter 104 of Little Acts of Kindness. Chapter 105 will be up next. Moving right on through this whole fic. Let me know your thoughts and reactions below as we keep progressing. And as always, thank you all so much for listening.